Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And all the questions that you're seeing here on today's show are from our October 10th live stream when the 49ers played the Seattle Seahawks. If you want to get your questions on a future show, you got to subscribe, but also hashtag Raiders or Super Chat. Mount Raider more the Silver and Black Hills, what they want. Hey, we try to do our best to deliver what those guys want. First one coming in here from Malachi Muhammad. Does Minshew getting demoted to QB3 and Carter gets activated? I don't think that Minshew's going to get demoted to quarterback 3. I know some people like Carter Bradley, but no disrespect to Carter Bradley, where I think Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell are like right here in terms of their talent. Carter Bradley at this point is still way, way down here. Like Bradley to me is probably not a top 60 quarterback in the NFL right now. If the Raiders were to go out there with Carter Bradley for 17 games legitimately, I don't think that they'd win a single game all year, and that's not a knock on Carter. It's just that's how much of a different skill set it is from a UDFA quarterback compared to a second string, compared to a third string QB. Bradley might be able to develop into a backup at some point, but putting him out there in any type of game situation is going to result in not exactly what you're looking for. Let's go to Rebel. The former Jets coach trying to fire the OC before he got fired. How many games will it take to get Getsy fired, and would be the same with AP? I would say that neither Getsy or Antonio Pierce is going to get fired this season. I mean, realistically, I don't think AP is going to get fired next season. I don't think Tom Telesco is going to get fired next season either, unless if the Raiders don't win more than 3 games, then I think that that's at least into the equation. The way that I would try to save my job if I was Antonio Pierce, I would go, you know what? We had a lot of injuries, which it's truth, had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the football, and I never had a good quarterback. I wanted to go get Jaden Daniels. Look at what Jaden Daniels is doing. So now give me an opportunity to go get my QB. I'll get a different OC. I will say this, though. If the Raiders plan on drafting a quarterback next season, you got to have a different offensive coordinator. I do not trust Luke Getsy. I don't trust our offensive staff to go out, even if it's Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe, Shedeur Sanders. I will say Shedeur Sanders, where there's smoke, there's fire. I've been getting some interesting messages around the Raiders and Shedeur Sanders lately. Let's go to Raider Prime. Hot take. See, I saw you sent this one in earlier. I want the Raiders to take care of business against the NFC South, only because I want the Raiders to beat Derek Carr. I want Derek Carr to become the first quarterback in NFL history to lose to all 32 teams. Does it help us get into the playoffs more for the AFC North? Yes. If the Raiders get a dub this week against Pittsburgh, you go back to 3-3. I'm going to go right back to my mindset of, hey, every single game, let's try to get into the playoffs. Right now, the more realistic thing for me in my mind is, are the Raiders a playoff team, or are the Raiders closer to having the number 1 overall pick? I believe that the Raiders are a lot closer to the number 1 overall pick than they are being a playoff team. Let's go to Theo. Since AOC is the starter, should the Raiders try to trade away Gardner Minshew? If a team offered you a 5th-round pick for Gardner Minshew, I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't know if an NFL team would offer any pick right now for Minshew, if I'm being honest. The team that would probably be the most likely to trade for Minshew, if the Indianapolis Colts lost JoeFlaco, like, I don't know, if he suffered a season-ending injury and all they had was Anthony Richardson, I could see Shane Steichen potentially reaching out to the Raiders saying, hey, what do you want for Minshew? We'll be happy to take him on. I think another team that you could potentially look at that would make a deal, I'm trying to think, maybe the Los Angeles Rams, if anything happened to somebody like, Matthew Stafford. How about this? Will AOC start the rest of the season? Give me a yes or give me a no down below. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, which means you're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer. Will Aidan O'Connell start the rest of the season for the Las Vegas Raiders? My answer is yes. I do think that Aidan O'Connell will start the remainder of the season. Now, I say that because as soon as you bench your quarterback in Gardner, that tells the team, hey, let's just roll with Aidan O'Connell. If the Raiders are bad, roll with Aidan. I say that because you got to see what you got in Getsy. But if they're bad with Minshew and you're bad with Aidan, just let Aidan get a little bit more experience because he's probably going to be on your team again. He's going to be the backup. The quarterback that you would move on from is Gardner in the offseason because you don't want to pay a backup quarterback that type of money. I would say just roll with Aidan O'Connell the rest of the season because if it's good, that's good for the team. That helps us move forward. If it's bad, Well, then we're just going to have a better quarterback in the next draft anyway. Let's go to John. What's up, my man? How about AP saying Devonte is a Raider? Thought it was smart. I put a video out yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I thought that the Raiders did two very smart things yesterday. One, they named Aidan O'Connell the starting quarterback, which I thought was the right move to do, and I know that might surprise a lot of people because I've been Team Gardner, but I think the NFL is a week-to-week league, and this week, I've been saying it from the jump. It would be smart for the Raiders to go with Aidan. Maybe you can get a little bit of that Andy Dalton magic up against Pittsburgh, get back to 3-3. But for AP to say Devonte is still a Raider, that's going to raise his price tag. Like, think about it. If Antonio Pierce goes, Davante Adams is never going to play on this team again, yard sale. Antonio Pierce saying, you know what, Devonte and I, we are able to figure it out. We're good now, and there's a chance that he could play again. Every team that was potentially interested in him before goes, oh, wait. We might not be able to get him at the discount we got. That was very smart by Antonio Pierce. If you're looking for videos every single day, hit that subscribe button. If you didn't see the video that I put out yesterday, the video that I put out this morning, any video that I put out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you this, you're not always going to agree with everything that I say. You're not always going to agree with everything that I do. But I think you will respect how hard I work because I know this, there's nobody in the nation, there's no content creator that will outwork Jeremy Chuggs and I. And if you go into every single day, whether you're an athlete, whether you're own your own business, whether you're a student, if you attack every single day that nobody's going to outwork me, then we can get on that same page, hit that subscribe button. Let's go to Nando. Bo Hardigree calls better plays than Getsy. Oh, man, I don't even know. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. I know I don't really like Luke Getsy at all. I'll say this, though. I would be intrigued to see Luke Getsy's offense if it didn't have as bad of offensive line play and as bad quarterback play as what we had this season because it's been pretty rough. Now, I get it. Aidan did a pretty good job last season as a rookie, and it's going to be an opportunity for him. Like, if Aidan can go out there and just show that he can do exactly what he did last season, I think it'll help him stay around in the NFL for a little bit longer. He's not going to be, I would say this will probably be Aidan's final season ever as a starting quarterback in the NFL. I hope that he proves me wrong with that. But again, from a skill set standpoint, Aidan's not a top 32 quarterback, and Minshew doesn't look like a top 32 quarterback either. Let's go to Urza. You think with the mess in the Jets and the Saints with Carr out, you think Tate will play for us if AOC has a good game Sunday, in your opinion? I would say that there is a 10% chance that Davante Adams suits up for the Raiders ever again. I will admit, and this was also something that I talked about earlier in the week where I said, you know, if you're Davante and you want to go a place where the grass is greener, and then you look at the Jets, you're like, oh, shit, man, that place might be a worse dumpster fire than what the Raiders organization is right now. And then you're like, oh, shit, well, the Saints, Derek Carr, he's hurt. Maybe I don't want to go there. I do think that Devonte had a little bit of a, all right, it's not always greener on the other side. And Devonte wants Aidan to start. If you look at Instagram, which I know it's kind of a weird thing to look at, Devonte follows Aidan O'Connell on Instagram. He does not follow Gardner Minshew on Instagram. And maybe I'm overlooking it. And I know that teammates don't always have to be friends. You don't always have to be friends with all your colleagues. But when it comes down to the person who Devonte used to be a captain, and he's following one person who is the captain on the team, you like to think that your star players would at least have that type of showmanship or have that type of relationship. Devonte just doesn't have it, I think, with Gardner Minshew. Before we get into more questions here on the show, huge shout out to our sponsor, GameTime. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Again, ChatSports at ChatSports. Terms apply. Download GameTime today. What time is it? It's game time. Now, when I look at the all-in pricing, which you can toggle this feature that shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. The lowest price guarantee or GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. GameTime ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. And here's the top priority. Look at the GameTime picks. You can see it, how you can save a little bit of extra money on those seats, whether you're at a Raiders game, maybe you're at, I don't know, an MLB playoff game of some sorts, but when I go get my tickets, and this is any type of event, if you don't believe me, I got my dad on it, and my dad always says, if I can do it, then I promise the nation can do it. My dad got tickets to the Mets and Brewers game. I've gotten tickets for Alex's dad for his birthday present. I'm telling you this, if I trust GameTime to be able to give to my dad and to be able to give to my fiance's dad, then you should all be able to look at me and go, all right, This guy's for real. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Shout out to them for sponsoring the show, because if it wasn't for them, then you know what? Then we'd all be paying a lot more money to go to a bunch of games. Let's go to Chad Jacobs, I'm excited to be able to try the cactus cooler, which it's green screen. You're not going to be able to see it. And then this Tahitian treat, kind of wild. If you want to know what I thought, tune into Thursday Night Football. Mitch, what's your take on the Vandy quarterback? The Vandy quarterback kind of reminds me of the Dollar General version of Johnny Manziel. Like, dude has a lot of fire. He's a fun guy to watch. And when they got that dub against Alabama, I put him on my list of, all right, I'm going to start watching this guy a little bit. He's not somebody that I think has a lot of NFL skills, probably going to be a good college quarterback, but man, oh man, he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch. I'll give him that. Let's go to CR1ZZ. Trade for Flacco. We need a quarterback now. I don't want to trade for Flacco. And the only reason why I say that is, one, JoeFlaco is my mortal enemy. Two, if you're going to trade for a quarterback, you can do better than JoeFlaco. Like, you can. And I think Flacco would be better than Aidan. I do think Flacco would be better than Gardner Minshew. But then I also say that because JoeFlaco needs a running game. The Raiders don't really have a running game right now. Flacco needs an offensive line. Raiders don't really have an offensive line right now. And from a skill position standpoint, if there would be a quarterback that I think that could actually help us win football games this season, it would be a mobile quarterback. Because our wide receiver room without Devonte is one of the worst in the NFL. Yeah, we have Brock Bowers, but I'm not considering Brock the wide receiver. I'm just saying that Brock's a tight end. I would say we need a running quarterback, and there's not many mobile quarterbacks out there. If we were to legitimately trade for a QB, the names that come to my mind are Justin Fields. I'll say Bryce Young, not to win this season, but if I'm AP and I'm trying to save my job, Bryce Young might be a guy, because if Bryce Young can get it done, then that helps out AP for a little bit longer. Hendon Hooker is somebody. But if you want to talk about quarterbacks, I did put out a video earlier in the week about the top QBs that the Raiders could potentially look at this season. Go check it out. JoeFlaco, though, not on that list. Let's go to Brandon is awesome. Mitch, who is someone that could have a big game this week for us on offense? All right, you know what? I said it earlier this week and I put a pick in for, Prize Picks. I'm going to go with Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker and Aidan O'Connell have shown me this offseason, even in the preseason and even in, the minimal games that Aidan's been in, his eyes are always locked in on Tucker, and they worked out this offseason a lot together. I mean, they really, truly did. They worked out a lot together this offseason. So Trey Tucker's going to be my answer. That's going to be a sneaky answer where also the Pittsburgh Steelers' edges are kind of weak right now. I want the Raiders to get Tyreek McAllister, Trey Tucker, DJ Turner. Let's attack the edges via the run. Let's get Trey Tucker some deep balls. Let's just take care of the football. But Trey Tucker, I think, is going for 100 yards and a tutty this weekend. Let's go to Raider Prime. Who disrupts the game more, Crosby or Watt? I want to say Crosby. Watt obviously scares the hell out of me. And, you can go a lot of different ways. I will say this. Broderick Jones is the worst offensive lineman that they have on their team. When I talked to our Steelers host today about some of their weaknesses, that he was like, Broderick Jones is pretty flippin' bad. So you know what? Give me Max Crosby. But as soon as you asked this question, Chugs, he started smiling. And I know you guys can't see Chugs, but he wants to know, who's more disruptive, TJ Watt or Max Crosby? If you're going to go with Watt, you're a twat. Type MC down below. Let's go to the real crazy news. Mitch, do you think Getsy will be back next year? If so, do you trust them with a rookie quarterback? No and no. I will do everything in my power to assure that Luke Getsy is not back with the Raiders next season. The only way that I'm going to possibly say Luke Getsy deserves to come back next year is if Aidan O'Connell takes the Raiders to the playoffs. Like, I need to see that type of improvement with Getsy, because Getsy was bad in Chicago, and he's been really bad this season. I didn't want the Raiders to hire Getsy in the first place, but if you're the silver and black and you legitimately do have a top 5 pick and you're going to use Cam Ward, like Cam Ward's going to be good. Jalen Milroe is going to be good. It just depends what type of offensive coordinator you're going to put them with. Like, why would I take a QB like Jalen Milroe and put him with somebody where Getsy's already failed with Justin Fields? If I'm going to take Cam Ward, I want to be able to put the best offensive staff around those guys, which is why I also say, like, it's not that I want the Raiders to move on from AP, but this is me being as honest as I possibly can. If Ben Johnson wants the Raiders' job because they have the number 1 overall pick, no disrespect to Antonio Pierce, I'm going to say move on from AP, or AP, go do something else and bring Ben Johnson in. If you're going to take a quarterback that high that can potentially be a franchise QB, you need to get either a head coach that knows what he's doing on offense or an offensive coordinator, kind of like what the Commanders did with Cliff Kingsbury, who has had coaching experience and then can also use his offense, the OC, and he's like the head coach of the offense. Because right now, Luke Getsy's the head coach of our offense. And this is what our offense looks like. It's not good. Let's go to Louis Roberts. When do we spend some of that cap money to fix our O-line next season? I'm telling you right now, the Raiders, what they're trying to do is they are trying to be a desirable destination next offseason. Right now, if the season were to start next year, the Raiders are going to be somewhere around $80 million in cap space. That's top 5 in the NFL. Also, I want them to get draft capital from Davante Adams. So, again, it makes this job, this destination, a little bit more desirable. Because, like, if you want to recruit a good OC, a good head coach potentially, you want to be a desirable destination. The way that you become a desirable destination, salary cap, draft picks, high draft pick overall. And the Raiders have a chance to do that. John, what do you think of this trade? Davante Adams, Michael Mayer to the Jets, from Mike Williams, Haason Reddick, and a 3rd-round pick. I know that you're throwing a lot of stuff at me. I'll tell you this, I don't like it. And the only reason why I don't like it is because I don't need Mike Williams on this football team. And I know that I've brought up Haason Reddick before, but I don't think Haason Reddick is in game shape. Slash, you're going to have to pay him $20 million. And with this right here, this doesn't really make us better this season. Like, yeah, you might be able to be a little bit better. Mike Williams makes you a little bit better. Haason Reddick makes you a little bit better. But I would rather you say Davante Adams, Michael Mayer, throw that out. Mayer, Adams, give me a 1st-round pick. Like, I'd rather have a 1st-round pick. I want all of the draft capital. Give me all of the draft capital because you're not going to compete in the NFL until you get a franchise quarterback. Aidan O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, it's never going to get it done. No NFL team's ever going to win a Super Bowl in today's day and age. And I don't want to hear, Kyle Bowler did it, or JoeFlaco did it many years ago. The NFL now is can we be honest? The NFL is a little bit more soft. The NFL is a little bit more better for quarterbacks, I guess, if you will. We need a franchise quarterback. I want all of the picks if we trade away anybody. Edgar, Mitch, you think that the Raiders keep Devonte until the trade deadline to try to maximize what we get in return, or do you think it'll be it before that? I think he gets traded next week. I will tell you this right now. I think the Derek Carr injury and then the firing of, Saleh really impacted the whole trade going down. The Jets and the Bills, they play on Monday night. The loser of that game, you're on a bold prediction, the loser of Monday Night Football, Jets or Bills, makes the trade for Davante Adams. If the Jets win, they're in first place. If the Bills win, they're in first place. Though, Aaron Rodgers right now and the New York Jets, they have an opportunity to totally flip the script and say, hey, it was Robert Saleh. And I know that Aaron said that him and Saleh are good, but I'll just be real. It's so hard for me, and the reason why I don't really listen to a lot of player interviews on TV is because I don't believe anything they say. Where, think about Davante Adams, literally just last week on Kay's show. He literally looked at everybody, including Kay, and lied to her directly to the face where he's like, I haven't talked to Antonio Pierce, when the day before he talked to AP and asked for a trade. I don't believe anything that any player says on a television show like that because they're just trying to save their ass. But I also know that Aaron Rodgers got a huge ego, right? Big time ego. And Aaron's probably sitting there going, hey, if we get Devonte, we flip this thing around, I'm going to go back to looking like the great guy. Devonte is going to go back to looking like the great guy. I think Tay still goes to the Jets next week, and I'll continuously say that. If you don't know, I need you to pull up Sunday. And if you haven't seen, our Steelers talk host was talking hella shit this week about him being number 1 in the Chat Sports Power Rankings. I've done a lot of Super Chat battles. I've done a lot of battles in general. If you didn't see this quote yet, I need you to go check it out. He said this on his show this week. Hope you like the smell of terrible towels because the Steelers are taking over Allegiant Stadium. We're winning on Sunday, and you can call Mount Raidermore, the Black and Silver Hills, or whatever you call it. It won't matter. We're winning the Super Chat battle. Raider fans are soft, and we all know there's only one true nation, Steelers Nation. I'm not going to lie. Me reading that pisses me off. And I want to win the football game. No doubt about it. But I also take a lot of pride in what I do, and I hope that y'all take a lot of pride in what you do. So if you want to take down Steelers talk with me, I'm going to put my body, my life on the line on Sunday. My dad's going to be here on Sunday. I want to shut up the Steelers show, and I want to reclaim the number one in the power rankings. They got some big hitters over there, but we got the nation. There is only one nation, and I need y'all to show up on Sunday. Let's beat these clowns because I'm already sick and tired of them.